Capron.
Here.
Greckin.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Cook. Scott.
Here.
Waters.
I'm here.
Can we stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bob Welty.
Oh, careful, brother.
Yeah, right. We have a proclamation that reads, whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service and members of the emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. Whereas the emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, and others. Whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams have specialized training, continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim May 23rd, 21st through May 27th, 2017 as Emergency Medical Services Week with the theme EMS Strong. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Let's present this to you guys. Thank you, and say a few words.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Go ahead and say whatever.
First, thanks a lot for the proclamation. It's great. And also, I'd just like to say thank you to the city for the emphasis they put on public safety.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we're doing interviews for the Airport Board of Trustees. Dave Kaplan, are you here? Come to the mic. Tell us why you want to serve and all the good things you're going to do.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Kaplan. I've had an interest in the airport board for many, many years, but my brother beat me to the punch and served before me. And so I wanted to wait until his term had expired and then other terms to go through, so we didn't run up with two of us on the board back to back. My interests are both in general aviation as well as expanding the commercial aviation into the city to help expand the city's economic growth. The city cannot function, cannot grow without aviation, without the ability for people to move about in and out to the larger cities. And if we're going to be continuing to grow, we need to offer that capability to expanding companies. Any questions that you have for me?
Dave, you mentioned something in your application about the passenger experience. Is there anything you can think of that we can do to make it more easy, more comfortable for passengers?
We've done a very, very good job as far as ease of parking, free internet. Passenger comfort there is not up to what you find in other airports. And also the amenities at the airport aren't quite up to what the others are. But it's understandable with the few amount of flights that we have coming in and out. In order for a business to be able to survive out there, we need to increase what we have in commercial traffic to get the passenger count up higher.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Appreciate your passion.
Thanks for applying.
Thank you. Christopher Rowan, I'm sorry.
Council, my name is Christopher Roan. I've been interviewed a few times, I think with some of you guys before. I have extreme passion, just like David, in aviation. It seems to be an addiction. I have two airplanes based out of Sioux City. I'm in the new hangars. They've been a great amenity. You guys have done a great job at improving the airport. My commitment to the airport is great, and my passion for flying. I think my biggest part I could play is probably lowering the average age of the people at the airport and the pilot community. I'm 23, and I'd say I'm probably 20 years younger than most people that I communicate with there. I'm very involved in Sioux City. I've lived here my whole life. I try to participate as much as possible in the airport. I do about 150 hours a year of flying personally in my airplanes.
Questions?
Any questions?
Well, I have to say, I appreciate your passion too, your passion also. And my thing is getting the younger people involved, and I think that this would be a big plus. So I appreciate you applying.
You're,
Echo those comments. I would just echo those comments. I think it's important that we get more young professionals involved, and not only involved, obviously you're passionate about this, but also serving at that capacity. So we do appreciate that very much.
Yeah, I feel like I use the airport a lot, almost every day, and I feel like I could give back some of my time, you know, and other value besides, you know, monetary, and it could be of assistance.
Christopher, your app said you had a lot of great ideas. Care to share any?
Well, most of them pertain to, you know, my age. My experience at the airport was I went and pulled 2 airplanes out of the woods and brought them here and restored them here, and both fly today. Just flew one back from Florida yesterday. And there's a lot of ways younger people can, you know, getting to be a commercial pilot, becoming an airline pilot can all start right here at our airport. You know, we have instructors, we have amenities, we have, you know, the new existence of Hawthorne, which is great. You know, there's just a lot of ways that I think I could be a communication link and, you know, relate more with a younger generation that might, you know, kind of miss, you know, someone 30 years older, you know, vice versa. Millennials were a little different, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
For a guy that's gonna draw his first Social Security check next month, I'm starting to feel like I don't have a lot of value, but thank you guys for letting me know. Not you, but my fellow council members. Angie Snyderman.
Alex and I can let that go.
Yeah,
I was gonna make a comment when you were talking about serving.
just let it go. Let's move on here today. Let's get out of here.
Well, good afternoon, and I'm here applying for a second term on the Airport Board of Trustees. You appointed me not last October, but October of 2014, right after we had that giant windstorm come through, which resulted in some insurance proceeds that we were able to reinvest in some infrastructure out at the airport. It's been a fascinating 3 years. There's been quite a learning curve. We deal with federal grants, state grants, the Iowa Department of Transportation. I feel like the airport is a great amenity to our city. It's unique in that we serve not only commercial flights for American, but we also serve the private sector in terms of having the hangar availability and such, but also we serve the 185th, which is such an important economic partner in our community. And it's been a great pleasure serving on the board, and we've had a lot of interesting discussions about land use and expanding services both on the commercial side, also for private infrastructure and such out at the airport, and I hope to continue to be part of that.
Thanks for your service.
Are you the senior partner in that law firm?
Not quite.
Well, you handle yourself much better than most of the partners there. Good job today.
Angie, what would you hope to accomplish in the next 3 years with the second 3-year period?
You know, I think we've got so many opportunities with the land that we have out there. So I think there's some opportunities to not only do some land-based expansion, but I would also hope to do some expansion as it relates to the various air services as well. I think there's multiple avenues for doing that. It's just picking the right opportunity that serves everybody's interests to the fullest extent.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
How many openings do we have?
3 vacancies, 6 applications.
This is gonna be tough, okay. Planning and zoning, Dave Silverberg.
Good evening. I've served the Sioux City community for over 50 years in the finance industry. Excuse me. Interesting. A month and a half ago, I decided to retire, which gives me the time now to even do more for this city than I have in the past. I think planning and zoning is an interesting concept. I love what you're doing with the downtown area, all the way from Hard Rock to 4th Street. And I'd like to see that continue. Any questions of me?
Questions?
You're a great person to work with because we've been on the Crime Stoppers committee. and-
Vice versa.
Yeah. So I think you do a fine job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll go through the consent agenda, which are items 3 through 18C. Please come forward as I read the item you're interested in and state your name and address for the record. If you want to come up under citizen concerns, please come up after when I announce that and state your name and address again for the record. I will move the consent agenda.
Second?
3 is a reading of the city council minutes of May 12th, 15th, and 17th, 2017. 4 is a motion approving the annual performance evaluation for the Human Rights Director. I'd like a separate roll call vote, please.
Gretkin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott,
Abstain.
Waters,
Aye.
Capron.
Aye.
5 are resolutions fixing.
I'm Cam Smith, representative for Midwest Volleyball Power, and we're renting the facility down there. And I actually am not here to complain about the new rate increase. I know that seems a little strange, but I do want to let you know about how important it is that the city continues to fund buildings for youth and stuff like that, and what it has meant to our organization. So anyway, I also have along my wife, who is the board president, and our club director, Rick Pruitt. Really quick, we started about 7 years ago over in the Dome, and that got foreclosed on. We tried to find a home real quick, and it really ended up well that we got into the Long Line Center, and we've been there for about 6 years right now. If I can, I'll be real quick. You can just pass one down. It's our club program. It just tells about who we are. We have age groups in girls volleyball from age 12 through 18. They are about 9 to 11 kids in each one of those teams. They're all the way from Iowa to Hinton, Orange City, Lamar's, into Nebraska, Wayne. I mean, some places. We have a girl that now plays at Morningside College as one of our coaches, way out in, where is it from? Wagner. There we go. South Dakota, Elk Point, Vermilion. And we even have some girls that come down that play in our club are from Minnesota. So anyway, I really want to point out is our mission statement, and we really work very hard to abide by that. And that says the MVP is a nonprofit organization providing opportunity for aspiring volleyball players in our region to compete at the highest level. MVP will develop and maximize individual volleyball skills, creating post-secondary exposure. And really what we're trying to get to is college scholarships. We have an alumni now over 6 years of 54 girls that have gone on and played college that have earned college scholarships. Means about $1.5 million that those kids have gotten that have gone on. So it's very significant. Of our 18 age group that will then go on to play in college, about 80 to 90% of those kids will actually go on and play. So I think that's a really significant number and one that we're actually really very proud of. Real quick, how do these kids get exposures? We go to tournaments, mostly in Omaha and Lincoln, Nebraska, some Sioux Falls, a few in Des Moines. But we'd like to bring some more to Sioux City. It's difficult a little bit, but I think we can start doing that, especially through the renovation that you guys have done. And we want to thank you very much for putting the money into that. We think that will really add to that. But most of those are down in Lincoln, Omaha. College coaches are at some of those, we call them sort of local tournaments. We will then go on to national qualifier type tournaments in Kansas City, Minneapolis, Reno, Dallas, Denver, whatever. That's where you'll start seeing other college coaches. That's how these kids get recruited. And then we'll actually go on and play in the national tournament. That's where everybody throughout the whole country comes and competes. And on the front of that catalog, and this is something we're really very proud of, we have 2 national champions. Out of all the whole United States, 2 national champions came out of Sioux City, Iowa. I want to just point out one thing. When we go to these tournaments, and they're big in Orlando, it's at their convention center. There's about 120 courts that are set up. I mean, it's crazy. There's volleyball courts everywhere and girls everywhere, so. So I guess where does this put us? I just really want to let you know that MVP considers Long Lines our home. And without our home, we wouldn't have a place to be able to practice on any consistent basis, then to give these girls this opportunity to go on and get this money that we're talking about in college scholarship and get the visual in front of these coaches that are out there. So anyway, we just want to let you know, thank you very much for, again, we consider it our home. If you want to give us a little, it's about a 60% increase in our rate from what we were paying to the new rate that's being proposed, that I think you're voting on. We sat at home trying to talk about, well, when we first went 60%, well, we can't, we've got to go in and fight this and whatever. And the more you look at it logically, there's nothing we can argue about, really. We think it's a fair rate. But again, we want to make sure that everybody that the city is still supporting this and really, this is a product that's gotten turned out of by the money that you put in, and we think we're really a very good organization. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. No.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else be heard? 6 is a resolution and authorizing a request for release of funds and certification of environmental review pursuant to HUD regulations for the CDBG program. 7 is a resolution approving 2018 West 7th Street Corridor Facade Improvement Program funding.
I had a question.
Yeah, so do I.
You want me first?
Sure.
After you.
This should be simple. Okay, so we're giving out funds for the facade, right? What if not all of them are gonna do the facade? I mean, like, what's gonna happen to the buildings that aren't
done?
Aren't participating?
Sure. Neighborhood Services Manager Jill Wanderscheid. I would say it would be similar to what we've seen down in the historic Pearl District. Very similar programs, similar rules. You've had some that have participated, some have not. I would say overall in that area, which includes Water Street, Pearl, it's still had a huge impact on the area, even in those little parts where maybe some of the buildings haven't participated. We've still seen the increase in valuation. We still see the increase in growth down there. So if there are a few buildings over the years that don't participate, I don't think it'll have a negative impact on the project as a whole.
Well, so one business is $50,000 all the way down to $1,000, I think, right? So, and it's a 25% match, is that correct?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
with a 5-year forgivable loan, so they have to maintain ownership for 5 years.
Okay, that's,
My question, I guess, first to build off of Rhonda, is that list exhaustive? I mean, do they have any other chance to participate, or it's kind of now or never, right?
That's largely up to you each year when we budget in the CIP process, if you want to continue to put funds in that program or not. This is our 3rd round now.
Okay. And then my second question was going to be, actually, some of them, it seemed like quite a few of them were water line replacements and not necessarily as much what I would consider aesthetic. Like,
absolutely.
Can you speak a little bit to
Yeah,
that?
sure. So this project is a little bit different, where we have a complete reconstruction of West 7th Street going along with the facade program. And as a part of that, when we do a reconstruction, we replace water lines up to the stop box. And so from the stop box to the building, if they are not lead, a lot of those just stay, and that those that are lead are required to be replaced. And so as a part of the program, because we're doing some special and unique concrete sidewalks that are different with some different stamping and coloring, we felt like it might be in the best interest of the property owners and of the project to include an option to pay for a portion of water lines for those that are interested, to cut down on costs in the future, because if they were to fail later, they'd have to cut into the street and sidewalk, replace that, and pay extra to get that decorative back. And so that was kind of the thought process. So in our notice that we sent out to all the business and property owners, we included that as an option, but I did let everyone know that applied that it's completely up to the council. You might want to focus more on buildings, and so there were no promises made as far as if those would get funded or not.
I have a question. You have not necessarily ever required people to replace that lead line unless they choose to.
That would be, is that a?
I don't think you can make
to
people
Glenn.
replace that. You can sure try, but I don't think you can.
Glenn Ellis, city engineer. I'm not aware of any recent projects where we've encountered lead lines, but I believe there is a requirement, that federal requirement, that it be replaced.
Well, you're gonna have to show me that, because talking to two contractors, they tell me that hot box in and hook back up the old, and as long as you can hook it up, there's not a requirement to change that out.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that a little more. Get you that information.
Because what are you gonna do to me? Shut my water off if I don't change mine out? That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah, I suppose,
Because I didn't apply for any of these funds
well,
because I thought the other citizens should have first. Last thing I want to do is say, well, he got it, and I'm in the first block, so there's a good chance I'm not going to get the money. But I'm also not going to spend $2,000 or $3,000 for a water line that doesn't have very much potable water needs at all. And whether I have a lead line flushing toilets or not really doesn't affect the health of my employees. So what's the deal? So you need to tell me, I guess.
well,
Not today, but
Yeah.
I've asked that question a couple of times and I haven't got an answer, so.
Okay.
Jill, can you share with me the criteria that you made your decisions on who gets, who doesn't?
Sure, absolutely. We have, so a few years ago when we developed the program, we had a series of public meetings with the business property owners and developed a scoring criteria. And so there are several categories, and they receive points based on those. And so one is visibility, importance to the area, historic. We have a few historic buildings left on that street, so we'd like to see those intact. Potential of the improvement, and then the impact. Let's say it's a vacant building, and that's kind of what that category means. And then area development. So we'd like to see some cluster, like you were talking about before. If there's been a development there, they get additional points for that too.
And this will use up all of the money in
Yes.
this,
Yep,
in the 7th Street?
Yep, we do have, to answer the water line question a little bit more, we do have a small balance left after we allocate all this, about $10,000. So if there is concern about water lines and replacement, we could, as a part of your motion, list kind of an unspecified water line improvement program as an additional line item, and then I could have that available for property owners too if there's a concern there in the future.
I think we should make that amendment.
I don't think we should have gotten the water line business personally, but you're in it now. And so now if I vote no, then I'm gonna have all my neighbors up and down there upset with me, but I don't think we should have ever gotten the water line business.
But there are only, what, half a dozen property owners that had applied?
Yeah,
Or 5%, yeah.
I
If
thought
you
of
open
11
this
on the
up,
list, I think.
everybody's gonna apply. If you open it back up again, you're gonna have winners and losers again. So you're just gonna have even more winners and losers than what you have now, and I don't.
all of the water lines that you're seeing here, there's a total of 6. Those were all of them that we received. We sent out the notice to 96 business and property owners, and we had 16 total applications. Of those 16, 6 asked for water line at this point.
And that's kind of my point. I was wondering, you had 16 applications, 11 of them are being approved. What was the total monetary request for the 5 that didn't?
Oh, let's see.
I mean, we are trying to
Sure.
create an emphasis on West 7th Street and make a lot of improvements there, and if it's,
Yeah, the total, I can give you the total of all of the applications was about 360,000.
Twice what you have.
pardon me?
Twice what you're awarding today, basically.
And then all of the projects that we're asking for approval for, none of those were fully funded. We took a look at their items. So out of the 11 that we're requesting approval on, that was an initial total of 279,000. We then went through and kind of went through all of their line items, what made sense, what didn't, and ended up with 185.
But the water line program for the 6 property owners, what's the average on that?
Yeah, about 1,000, I would say. And they'll be required to get 2 bids. Same process, they have to match at 25%. They have to sign the forgivable loan for 5 years. The same rules apply to that as well.
So how many businesses are there? Because you're gonna have a lot of water lines here. That's gonna be a problem. And I'm just telling you, when people find out some people got their water lines and some people didn't, it's gonna be a.
This was sent to all 96.
Correct,
That
yes.
doesn't, I got the packet. It's not easy.
No, I would understand. I understand your point.
Not everybody thought you could apply. It made it sound like in your packet.
I can maybe pass this out a little bit. This is the notice of now, so it has a section in there that call that out.
But you said there's an unspecified amount for $10,000. Is that,
But I'm just saying there's probably 30 or 40 water lines that are gonna have to be replaced here. You're not gonna get them
be
all
$30,000 to $40,000 is what you're
at
saying?
a minimum.
Well, not total, because you have the 25% match. So it'd be $750 per line.
Well, some are paying the 25% that wouldn't be paid in the first place if the city's going to do it.
And some are not interested at all. We had our public meeting for, before construction started. Several business property owners came, and talking through, they had no interest, so it would.
Well, what are you gonna do when they don't replace their water line? Because in your letter, you tell me I have to.
That'd be, I guess, a question for engineering.
Well, they don't have an answer, but that's a dilemma you're gonna have going down this road.
Yeah.
Would it just be a problem then when it breaks, or if it breaks?
Yeah, and then you're gonna be having it break and have new sidewalks they're gonna be tearing up.
I don't think this notice made it mandatory
To what?
to replace the water line.
Oh, I guarantee you they're telling you it's mandatory, am I right? If I got a lead line, you're telling me I gotta replace it.
That was my understanding.
Absolutely.
Legal had shared some information saying that if it's a maintenance repair, then it would have to be a replacement. If it's just a connection to it, then it would not be.
Exactly right.
Well, that's the West 7th Street project, though. This is a part of the facade project that I'm talking about.
I'm just saying, okay, that, yeah, it doesn't mean that it appear that you have to, but you're gonna have to, and it doesn't appear that everybody could have,
If they have water line insurance, would that cover it?
no.
Glenn, can you reiterate what you said, a maintenance repair versus just a replacement?
Yeah, if we connect into it at the stop box, then it doesn't have to be replaced up to the building.
Yeah.
Only if it's,
It's been a longstanding city policy, if you have to repair a lead service line, it needs to be replaced. If the lead service line is operable, then it does not need to be replaced.
No.
Yeah, so it's gonna.
By federal regulations, the city's streets construction contractors not allowed to reconnect a lead service line to a new main, and so that lead line must be replaced. I got the letter and I read that. You're forcing me to do it. That's what it says, Bob.
I'm not aware of that specific letter, so I have to talk to that. the
Well, I'm
engineer
not
that
a
was involved
lawyer,
with
but
that.
it's pretty clear. I'm replacing it if it's letter. You're not hooking me back up.
Does that refer between the stop box and the main and not the stop box in the building?
It could be, but we're replacing from the main
Service
to the
line,
stop
that's
box anyway.
To your meter. When it says service line, that's to your meter. I'm sorry I opened this can of worms, but you opened it. You guys.
I just wanted to ask a quick question.
That's just what it says. Thank you.
Jill, would it be okay to defer
That one
this a
business
week?
law course I took in college is paid
Or
dividends.
2 weeks till the
2
5th?
weeks. Would it be possible to approve those that don't have water lines on them? Because we have some property owners that are,
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, would it be possible to approve the items that don't have water lines, or would you prefer to defer the rest?
The problem is, you're out, you got a contractor out there digging, and some of these people are getting water lines replaced as part of this project. I'm assuming, right? So you gotta make a decision here today,
Yeah, to the stop box.
so.
Well, I mean, I think you raised a good point, Mayor. I don't want, if you got 30 or 40 property owners that are gonna come after $10,000, that doesn't, it was in the original notice to apply for that, but it just seemed like if there's still $10,000 that hasn't been allocated to anyone, somebody could benefit from that.
Yeah, we could add that as an additional unspecified project line item, for example, and if something does come up as a part of the project, we could
So
allocate
does
it
that
then.
get carried forward?
Yes.
That
mhm.
amount? So, well, okay.
Yeah,
so-
and sometimes if people don't move forward or they don't pay or don't use the full allocation, then I'll do a smaller facade improvement program round again where I send out the same notice, just to make sure we're
How much
utilizing
did we
those
spend on
funds.
Pierce Street?
On Pierce Street, that was not my project.
I don't. A, it's a resolution proposing to sell a portion of the vacated north-south alley abutting 5300 Correctionville Road. Petitioners William Preston Brown. B is an action relating to bonds. A is a resolution directing the sale of 14,170,000 GO bonds. B is a resolution directing the sale of 6,670,000 taxable GO bonds. C is a resolution authorizing the redemption of outstanding GO urban renewal bonds.
Amy Walker
Cutting into
City.
you getting outside, so let's get this done, right?
We got another one done, yes. I just wanted to make sure everyone got the results of the sale that I left, and basically staff is recommending acceptance of the low bid for 2017A of Robert W. Baird and 2017B BOK Financial Services. Rates were
Were the
good.
rates where you thought they'd be?
Yeah, they were almost identical to last year, actually, so rates have held pretty constant. They've dropped a little bit, so we had the luck of some good timing, and then item C is just to refund the bonds that were included within the 2017A as part of refunding.
Good job. When do I have to be here to sign the amount?
I'll let you know, yeah.
Yeah, let me know.
A lot of paperwork, yes. All right,
I
thank
go off
you.
on Thursdays. 10 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution approving an agreement with the IDOT for state transit assistance for operating or capital expenses. B is a resolution authorizing the submission of an airport improvement grant application to FAA for the runway reconstruction and shift project at the Gateway Airport. 11 are actions relating to street closures. A is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the downtown area June 2nd through June 4th for the Firehouse Bar Gays Pride event. B is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the downtown area June 16th through June 18th for the Firehouse Bar's Biker Street Dance event. C is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in Leeds June 10th through June 11th, 2017 for the Leeds Community Days. D is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in Leeds June 10th through June 11th for the Leeds Community Days Parade. E is a resolution temporarily closing 4th Street from Jackson to Jones June 13th through June 14th for the Big Brothers Big Sisters Over the Edge fundraiser. F is a resolution temporarily closing a portion of Pearl Street June 3rd through June 4th for McCarthy and Bailey Pearl Street Summer Kickoff event. 12 are actions adopting construction documents. A is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Gateway Airport Elevator Replacement Project. B is a resolution adopting plans and specs for construction of the annual resurfacing project. C is a resolution adopting construction documents for the Outer Drive North and Floyd Boulevard Trail Connection Project. 13 are actions relating to agreements and contract. A is a resolution awarding a contract with G Asphalt Systems for the asphalt seal coating project at the Gateway Airport. B is a resolution approving the agreement with IDOT for the use of York Street, Donner Avenue, and Lewis Boulevard as detours for the Singing Hills Railroad Crossing Surface Replacement Project. C is a resolution awarding a contract to K&W Electric for the Gordon Drive and 185th Street Traffic Signal Project. D is a resolution approving a lease with Floyd Slow Pitch Softball Association for Chautauqua Park for the 2017, 18, and 19 seasons.
I have a question about that, Matt. Just one thing that I was gonna ask was, I know the litter receptacles and things like that out there. I was trying to think, I haven't been out there yet this season. Are there recycling receptacles for the cups that people use? I mean, they go through cups with pitchers like crazy.
I don't believe Floyd softball has recycling receptacles.
Okay, because I know it was
They
like
just use
part-
their
part of
standard
our side of
totes.
the contract for the trash for Gil, so I just didn't know if we could also.
Something we can look into, but I don't believe they have them currently.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I just haven't been out this season, so I was just.
We can check on
gonna
that.
see if we can check and try to amend our side of the agreement to see if.
And I don't think it's necessarily something we even need to amend. I think that they're provided for free anyway. It's just a matter of implementing them.
You'd want to require it though, wouldn't you, Matt?
Require the players to recycle?
No, require
No,
that
then-
they be available.
Yeah, because right now the lease just says the regular, you're right, it's just the regular garbage bin.
I'm sure there won't be a problem with that either.
Just got to have them available. Yeah.
For 2021. B is a motion appointing Cheryl Prather to the Senior Advisory Committee for a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2021.
Mayor?
Yes.
That fills out the Senior Advisory Committee, so Mr. Padmore, will you be setting up a meeting
Yes.
for organizational purposes? And I'd be happy to attend that meeting.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
15, purchasing. A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Aardvark for the Aardvark Avatar 3 tactical police robot for the police department. Thank God we got that coming, Chief.
We get a demonstration.
No, I hope so. Is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Kneffler Chevrolet for 3 2018 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 pickups. Are these 4-wheel drives?
Yeah, it
They
says
are,
so.
right?
Yeah, they are.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wondering how we determine when we need 4-wheel drives, like the police department have to fight for them once in a while, but when it's for public works and that, they get them automatically. I'm just curious.
Depends on the use of a lot of times it's if they're in a situation where they're going into areas that are not necessarily maintained frequently, or if they're like in the meter shop, for instance, they're going to all different areas, gravel roads, everything else that might have water supplied to them. And then they typically end up with a 4-wheel drive.
But then they don't get remote starts if they get 4-wheel drive.
No, we did give them air conditioning though, so.
Okay. C is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Utility Equipment Company for sewer parts for the Underground Utilities Division. D is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Lincoln Wind Water Works for sewer parts for the Underground Utilities Division.
Mayor?
Yes.
On that one, American Underground in South Sioux is $200 more, which is within our 2% discretion. Yes.
I'm from American Underground.
How am I doing so far?
Doing great, doing great.
And of course, you have to recommend the lowest.
Sure, just to clarify, in the RCA, I put an RCA on your chairs before the meeting that provided totals for each of the groups, and the first grouping on the 5 items, utility equipment company was low on each item. That's why that total is right there. And then on the next group of items, Lincoln Wind Water Works was low for all those items, and that amount is totaled right there. And then the totals for all the other vendors is in there as well.
But you look at the total, don't you, Sparrow? Is that what you're saying?
No, we're looking at each individual item. So on each individual item, on the first 5 items, utility equipment was low. So then, yeah.
They're still second place on every item.
Yeah.
State your name and address, please.
Troy Groves, American Underground Supply, 2303 G Street. And what I'm up here for is to discuss the second part of that bid with Lincoln and Water against us. The first one, the utility, that's their deal. That's not mine. But I went and tabulated all these up here and was noticing that there's only a $200 difference between both of us at the end of the whole thing when you total it all up. And before, you've had discretion to use if for a local vendor to be within the 1% to 2% range. I total that up and it comes up to about $200 that were higher for the same product.
Does that have to be on each item, the 2%, or is it the total?
What's that?
Is our 2% discretion, is that on each item that we have to look at, or is that?
Doesn't matter,
total?
they're 2% on every item.
Yeah, they would.
Well, I don't know.
Spiro tried to hide that by not totaling any of the other groups up, but.
We're looking.
Okay. I even highlighted stuff too.
It's your motion, not mine.
Well, I move we accept the American Underground bid, which is $200 more, but it's within the 2% discretionary amount.
I would move that we defer this item. And the reason I'd move we defer this item is I'd like to ask the City Council of South Sioux, when our vendors are within 2% of Lincoln companies and Sioux Falls companies, are they going to award to our Sioux City companies, or are they going to award out of state?
I'm not sure how they do that over there. I have.
Well, we'll ask them a question before we award. I would anyway. I don't think it's fair that we not ask that question.
I'll second that.
I think it's somewhat different if you have a contractor from the area that'll be paying Iowa wages, but in this particular case, you won't be, so.
Well, I have employees myself that are over here that live in Iowa. We pay our taxes over here. The only reason we're not in Sioux City is we can't find the ground available to us at this point. We're renting right now.
Oh, we'll put a
Well, I
search
bet we
team out
can,
on
I
that.
bet we can.
Go for it.
In the city.
I've been working with lots of realtors and it's just
I
a
don't
difficult
think
one
that
to.
it's ever been definitively decided. I know Donna had done some research on that, and I believe the conclusion was that it did not
No, it's
specify.
local. But I'm just saying, I want to make sure South Sioux treats our local vendors the same way. I think that's fair to ask the question.
But how would we be able to enforce them to do that?
You wouldn't, doesn't your honor and word mean something?
Yes,
Okay.
I move to defer. Is there a second?
Yep.
I second it.
In item 27, a little later here, we'll talk about the city manager's authority. Actually talks about 3 issues. The city manager's authority, the 2%, and I had a question about, it does talk, and we can, if we're going to defer this, I can talk about it a little later, but the 3 issues really, the last one for me is, it talks about notwithstanding foregoing if bids are submitted for the purchase and there is a 2% or less difference between a non-local selected bidder's price and a local bidder, then the city council, and we will probably change that to may, which I think is good. But I didn't know how we defined non-local and local bidder. And it would seem to me that we would want to give consideration to those who have their business in Sioux City, who pay state and city and property taxes in Iowa. And I don't know, maybe there's even a consideration of changing the 2% going higher. We had this discussion maybe a year or 2 ago, and just recently the Effective Fiscal and Public Policy Committee just met, but it's kind of been on the table for a year or 2. But again, I didn't know if there was a definition for non-local and local bidder. Is it the Siouxland area? Is it the tri-state area? Is it?
Just council discretion, you think? I mean.
We had, Councilman Grecken, we had looked at this issue a year or so ago. Donna had researched that, and at that time, I believe she had looked at other cities' policies, for example, Sioux Falls cities and Nebraskan cities in Iowa, as to what they did for local preference.
Mhm.
Some of them had reciprocity.
Yes, you are correct. Back in January of 15, we talked extensively about this, and right now I've got my memo that I sent at that time, and Davenport actually goes so far as to do their local preference as
All business to be determined within the corporate limits of the city by physical and economic relationship to the city. So it does go a wide variety. A lot of them do not specify what local means because they want to have the flexibility if you're doing local within the tri-state versus local within the West Coast, East Coast. That part back to the effective fiscal public policy if you would like them to draft something for local. But here again, we can talk later when we get actually to this ordinance.
There's a motion to defer.
So, question with the deferment, I mean, are we sending them a certified letter
No,
requesting?
I'm gonna
this?
have Bob get a hold of Lance and see what their stance would be.
Good idea.
Okay.
No, I don't care.
I guess we have a motion in a second.
To
Yeah.
June 5th.
Yep.
Gretkin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters, Capron.
Aye.
Be back on June 5th.
Okay, thank you.
Resolution awarding a purchase order to Gillig for one heavy-duty low-floor,
We have a second.
what did I do, miss the one?
There are just two on the same RCA.
Oh, sorry. D is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Lincoln Wind Water Works for sewer parts for the underground utilities division. Well, that was it. That's the one we're deferring.
There were two separate resolutions for the same, it split it out to two different
I did
companies.
them.
Yeah, this one is still,
And I did that one. That's the deferral. Utility got it. They got the.
C was,
Okay.
yeah, C was
All right.
okay.
thank you.
E is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Gilling for one heavy-duty low-floor diesel bus for the transit department. F is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Gilling for one heavy-duty low-floor diesel for the transit system. G is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Gilling for one 40-foot heavy-duty low-floor diesel for the transit system. 16 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine vapor permits. 17 are applications for beer and liquor license. See the list come forward.
Mayor?
8, yes.
I need to abstain on 17A1A, conflict of interest.
Thank you. 18 are receipt of minutes. See the list come forward if you have any questions. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything on first 18 items? If so, come forward now. Otherwise, we'll vote and hold it down, right?
Right.
Say that again.
Hold it down.
Oh, yeah.
Getting too loud.
How much longer?
Gotta hold it down.
Whoops.
Oh, I
Well,
let
she
go.
told me till it went out, and it went out.
It went out.
I've got them all.
Got them all?
I'm just hitting the wrong buttons. It's been so long since we moved them or used it.
Passes 5-0.
All right.
19 is a hearing and ordinance placing an annexed territory at 6115 Morningside Avenue into zone classification SR. Petitioner Sioux City P&Z recommends approval. I'll move it.
Susan Stewart,
Second.
Chair of Planning and Zoning. There was no one appeared on this. I think it was a unanimous vote with one abstention.
Okay.
I did have a question about the comment from the engineering department that said they would like to see a sidewalk installed. But it's my understanding, I thought maybe it could be a condition of, a recommended condition of approval. But my understanding is city legal's already checked into this, and since the house was built under a county permit, legal said we cannot enforce a sidewalk. I know we've had discussions in the past where developments are built without sidewalks, and then it's always kind of an argument to try to get sidewalks in at a later time. And I thought, well, maybe it could become a condition of approval to have a sidewalk, but apparently we cannot.
Chris Madsen, planner. We did look into this, and because, like you stated, it was permitted under the county, the opinion of the legal department was that we could not require a sidewalk because that permitting, the house design, the plan was approved under the county regulations.
So they would have to change it to say you have to have a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Correct. Had the county required it, then they would have been required to place a sidewalk.
And there's nothing the city can do then.
What about the next time?
Question to Nicole.
Yeah, you can have a sidewalk hearing.
If there's an infill program to require sidewalks, then it could be
Okay,
included.
and that's how it would have to come about, okay. And we were talking about infill sidewalks, so, okay, thank you.
I bet you haven't done one for 15 years.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Hope springs eternal for some of you guys, I can see
you
that.
have no hope in us? Are we voting?
We're voting. Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
Nope.
Move it.
Second.
Moore?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Waters? Capron?
Aye.
Gretkin?
Aye.
Second, third.
Second.
Now you may use your voting panels again.
Looky here, it's falling apart. Okay, time
Oh, we got
out.
one broken already.
Yeah, Jesus. I can't vote no if I wanted to. Jesus, not that I want to.
Oh,
Uh-oh, you took
need-
out a button.
I know.
What
I
did
got
you
two, took
do?
out two. Nothing. They just all stuck to this thing. It's,
Can you switch her? to
Pass
another
5-0, that's all I care about. 20 is a hearing and ordinance vacating the east-west alley on a portion of Russin Street adjacent to 30001 13th Street and 2900 14th Street. The petitioner is Joseph Johnson. P and Z recommends approval. I'll move it.
Second.
This was unanimously approved. It was a vacation. We had one person, one of the abutting landowners spoke, and when he understood the way vacations work and he could acquire the parcel abutting his property, he had no further issues with the proposal.
So how are we voting now?
Are you back in action?
Are you back in action?
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I could vote yes for
Okay.
everything. No big deal.
Motion and a second.
Yeah, Dan, I moved it and Dan seconded it.
I'm on practice with this too, I'm sorry. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you should have been up here like last Friday.
Do you show when each one,
Hey, I was gonna say I was.
We were,
do you show when each
I
one
can
comes
vouch.
in?
I'm waiting for one vote.
Oh, boy. No, I
Does it
voted.
show as
It's
each
me.
one comes in?
But my light's lit up yet.
No, it says you voted. It's Dan.
Lisa's
He's the
not gonna
holdout.
answer.
It's Pete.
It's Pete?
It's Pete.
I thought it was done, but there's no lights on it now, so.
You guys see what I deal with on a regular written notes?
You.
Technology.
I'm trying it again, but there are no lights on it.
Okay, so let me just call it. We'll try it on the next one. Scott?
Aye.
Waters?
Aye.
Capron?
Aye.
Gretkin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
No.
I'll move it.
Second.
Waters?
Aye.
Capron?
Aye.
Gretkin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye. I'll move second and third.
Second. Let's see if your light comes
Okay,
on.
try it again.
It's on.
Now hold it down for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, don't let up on it.
30 seconds.
When it stops.
Gonna go solid.
Said for a
How we
long
doing?
time.
Do we have
There
it?
we go.
Each one gets
Pass
registered
5-0.
individually? Is that how it comes into you?
I can't tell who's doing what until you're all done, and then I just see a green bar or a red bar, but no names. Until I do that, display, and then everybody gets to see what you do.
So you were just assuming it was Pete who hadn't voted?
Well, I just didn't want Rhonda to feel bad, so I thought I'd throw in.
Yeah.
historian.
Okay, we're moving on. 21, hearing and resolution approving plans and specifications for the construction of the Lewis and Clark Park infield draining improvements project. I'll move it.
Second.
Here we go.
Good job.
5-0. 22 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specification for the Pier Street reconstruction project. I'll move it.
Second.
I had a question on it.
I'm sure it's going to come in way under budget if that's your question.
Yeah. No, my question was just, with this, had any consideration been given to what the business owner had addressed? Did we talk about before putting that out? I didn't see it in there, and so I wanted to.
Yeah, so we have an addendum that was sent out that adds as a bid alternate the intersection at 27th and Pierce. So we'll get costs for that separately, and then when we make our recommendation, it'll be up to council as to which option to select.
But will that make it look inflated rather than just saying you're flipping the phases of the project or changing the phases around? That's what I worry about. You know, if you're bidding that separately, it's not the whole project, and then it could look inflated.
I mean, I don't want to speak to what the bids will actually come in at, but
What now?
we're
I'm not a
forcing.
contractor, I'm just guessing.
So we're forcing probably an extra month of time that we had allotted in 2018. We're forcing that into 2017. So the expectation would be that the contractors are going to have to work expeditiously to get that completed. So that'll be reflected in their bids.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just see what happens when it comes back. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can do now. I just wanted to make sure that consideration was given for.
Yeah, he had asked that we have that intersection completed this year, so we put that in the bid, yeah.
Yeah, because I think he was opening in the fall or something. Okay, thank you. Are we voting?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll do it again.
How's yours looking? All right.
It's okay.
It's not broke yet.
Passes 5-0.
I haven't dropped it.
23 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specifications for the construction of the runway aircraft arresting system upgrade project at the gate. When did it stop becoming this? When is it the Gateway Airport rather than the Sioux Gateway Airport?
It says Sioux Gateway here.
It says Sioux Gateway on the item. It just
I know.
probably doesn't on your agenda.
Okay, I'll move it.
Second.
I want to be tri-state, but not when it comes to us paying all the taxes on something. I think we should kind of maintain our own name.
There you go.
We have a motion and a second, right?
Yep.
Yes.
You vote.
Dan.
Passes 5-0. 24 is the hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of Tritz Pallet and Tritz Holding and authorizing agreements for land in the Donna Park Urban Renewal Area, 2201 Boulevard of Champions, deferred from May 2017. I'll move it.
Second.
Mayor and council, there was one slight modification to the development agreement from the form you received. Mid-American is currently needing to obtain an easement on the southern portion of this property, which was not included in the draft sent out last Thursday.
Yes.
Since that time, we've included a form of easement, which was agreed upon by Tritz Pallet and it has been signed in the current copy for the mayor's execution today.
Okay.
Did you vote? Got to vote.
I thought you were going to say something. That's why I didn't vote. Chris.
Split up.
You can certainly say something.
Maybe we already did.
I thought you were coming up to.
Chris
say-
Myers, Economic Development Specialist. That's, as the agenda says, this was deferred from May 8th, and we have come to an agreement on the development agreement, and we are ready to go and excited to see some development on this property. Hank Tritz is here tonight if anybody has any questions for him.
Yeah, tell him to stand up.
But we are,
I wanna see
we
him.
are ready to go. Right there.
Hi, Hank. How you doing, bud? Good.
Tell them to stand up.
All right.
you.
Sounds good. Thank you. It passes 5-0. Get it going out there. You're ready to go.
Thanks, Hank.
25 is an ordinance amending the municipal code to increase sewer rates effective July 1st, 2017. First reading passed on May 15th, 2017. I'll move second reading.
Second.
Anyone to be heard?
No. Oh, no, I don't think so. Let me double check. Well, there isn't a copy. Well, we're on, what are we on, 25? 24.
Yes,
20.
25.
Yeah.
call in?
Are you waiting for me? Nope. You must be waiting for me.
Passes 5-0. Is anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
Could we wait till June 5th?
I don't care. 25 is an ordinance of fireworks within the city. I'm going to amend this, Mr. Hanson. What am I amending it for?
It's number 26, Mayor, just to make the record clear.
No, okay, I'm not gonna, that's fine. I'm doing 26, which is an ordinance amending the municipal code to add the new chapter entitled fireworks to provide for sale, use, and exploding of fireworks within the city. And I would like to add the zoning B.
P as in business park.
Right.
Jeff Hansen, Community Development Operations Manager. The current ordinance that's on the agenda for the council today for consideration includes one zoning district which would allow for the sale of fireworks, and that would be GC, which is our general commercial zoning district, which is typically your heavier retail area. So your Hamilton Boulevard, Gordon Drive would be examples. In the last week, we've had a few questions about other areas, including the business park zoning district, which was originally identified as our light industrial zoning districts. As an example would be Highway 75, or otherwise known as Business Highway 75, heading north of Gordon Drive Viaduct. Lisa, if you want to pull up a map, we've gone ahead and mapped both the GC, general commercial, and business park zoning districts. As part of this, we removed all the parcels that are owned by the city of Sioux City, which largely would be the airport is zoned business park. We don't intend to sell fireworks on city-owned property, and so therefore we remove those parcels. Also, we've blacked out the fire zones 1 and 2, which is really the central business district, West 7th, and then also the Pierce, Nebraska corridor going north there. So those areas, although they have GC zoning districts, they're not allowed to sell fireworks in that area. And so what you see there is approximately 354 general commercial parcels that would be available. We're not saying that they're for lease or for rent or vacant. We're just saying there's 354 GC zone parcels on that map, and also 212 business park zone parcels, so a total of 566 parcels that could be used potentially for the sale of fireworks. The way the ordinance is written, the parcel has to be over 30,000 square feet for the sale of transient sales, which includes the fireworks. But also the fire department ordinance has setbacks, and so although we're showing approximately 566 parcels, they still have to go through the permitting process to make sure that the location of their sales, whether it be a tent or a building, still meets the requirements in the fire ordinance.
So my amendment will be for the map that's on the board right now,
To include that.
to include everything on the map that they're talking about.
Because what's your hope with including the BP?
What's that?
What's that?
To increase it to
Right,
including the
because
BP
it's,
as well, right?
it's unbelievable, we'd allow people to sell it on, that we'd allow people to sell it on Hamilton to me, but we wouldn't allow them to sell it on Highway 75. That doesn't make sense. And I'm not, it's not your fault, it just doesn't make sense after people called me on it.
Looking at that, okay.
The specific section that would be amended is 19.20.020. And we're looking specifically at paragraph 3, safety requirements, sub B.
Okay? Thank you.
Sub A and B.
Well, I'm assuming by the time I re-sign it, you'll have it straightened out, right?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions?
I had a call. You know, right now we're setting it for June 25th through July 4th for the use of the fireworks. And I had a call asking if we should look at the weekend before and the weekend after the July 4th. So for example, July 4th this year is on Tuesday. So they're saying start it the weekend before and let the fireworks continue till the weekend following July 4th.
In case it would fall on like a Friday or something, or what?
Mark Aesop, Fire Marshal. I think one of the reasons we chose to go, or at least we were directed to go this way, was so that it was a set date, so it was the same. It's easy to put dates out, you know, June 25th, July 5th, whatever we decide is done. If we start going weekend before, weekend after, those dates change every year, and the educational message is a lot harder for that. Just from an education standpoint, that'd be my only issue with that.
The time frame under the state code does allow 2 July could be allowed.
And you could go beyond that if a weekend falls. No, I mean, the calculation could go beyond the July 8th deadline, depending when the weekend, when July 4th falls, it could go past July 8th. So I guess you'd have that confusion. I think the argument was if July 4th is just Thursday or Friday, people are going to shoot the fireworks off over the weekend anyway.
The following weekend.
Kind of gets back to the same problem we've talked about before, where they can, you know, they'll shoot the fireworks whenever they want, but hopefully this will help with some
Those
of the
guys this year,
enforcement.
those police officers, they're gonna be vigilant about, right? I mean, we are gonna,
We'll have a
you're
robot
probably
out
gonna
there,
step up
Bob.
and get 3 citations this year. From your normal 2 average. You don't have to answer.
No,
It's
I'm
just when
prepared.
last week when Lisa told me how you were really after people and I saw 4 and 5 years, it showed me that we really,
Well, based on how this fleshes out, Rex Mueller Police Department, we have planned enforcement efforts around the times listed. So we are prepared to do directed enforcement of the ordinance.
You know what, that's a real good idea, and I think that we need to have it out there, like our press putting that out there, because at this point, it's never been enforced. I mean, it's hard. I don't know how you can enforce trying to find everybody shooting
We
off
have.
a firecracker, but.
On prior occasions, we had fireworks patrols that we'd hire additional officers to specifically work those times. And it's around the times, it's pretty overwhelming as far as the calls for service, so.
So are you talking just around the 4th of July or New Year's Eve is?
Prior to, yes, around the 4th of July. So if this, depending on what goes on with the ordinance, we will structure those based on the times that are allowed and not allowed, and start the officers when the times are up at 10 or 11 o'clock, I think was the times that
10
we've got.
o'clock. Well, I think it's 11 on the 4th of July.
Yes, 11 on the 4th and 10 o'clock on the other days.
Are you doing it days before that or just within that 24 hours?
Actually, the window of time where it starts, and then
Okay.
if you expand this, that would change things, but going into the days following the 4th of July, because as Councilman Moore indicated, there are people that will continue shooting them off in the days following.
Okay, so if you
depending on what
catch
come
somebody
up with.
shooting off fireworks, what's the fine? I'm thinking $500, is that right?
Sure. Under the state requirements, they've indicated that it has to be a simple misdemeanor violation. We cannot do a municipal infraction. And $250 is the minimum amount that's been set by the state for the simple misdemeanor. The city has a range generally on all other violations from $65 to $625. We have set the floor at $500 for the council's consideration. You would have the ability to go down to $250 if you would choose to do so. The other important factor under the state code is that no jail time can be served for a violation. They've set that out in the state code change.
Can you set it up to be a first, second violation?
It's just a straight simple misdemeanor violation. That's the only way that we can charge it.
Okay. So you can't do like a first violation, 250, second violation?
Well, you know what,
No, if it was a municipal infraction, we would have the ability to do that, but not on a simple misdemeanor.
You only have a small window, so if they do it the first time and get a fine, you think they know better, right?
they get a 500, you'd think they'd know better.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I also think that should be put out there too. So TV cameras over there, make sure you get that down. Because I think that will scare people too, you know, they don't want a $500 fine. And we do have the police department running around, you know, doing what they need to do, so between that and right now, $500 tickets,
So you tell me you bring officers in and pay overtime this time of the year, and we only had 2 citations last year?
We didn't have fireworks patrol last year. We have done it in prior years. It was not scheduled last year.
Okay.
So it was just officers
Did you
working
2 years
regular
ago?
patrol services. I don't recall. I think it's been at least 2 or 3 years since we had scheduled fireworks patrol. That was a thing that we had for a number of years there. and has not happened for at least the last 2 years. But now we'll do that very thing.
On the amendment,
We have the mayor's motion, but no second.
Okay, so he minute it for what?
I'll second it. To the,
To
to zoning.
include the BP.
Oh, okay.
Allowable sales would occur in the commercial, general commercial area and business park.
Capron?
Aye.
Greckin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
Scott?
aye. Now, what is the fine if they shoot them off in a city park? The same 500?
Correct. All violations for this new chapter are a simple misdemeanor and $500.
So can we, I think that 500, I mean, I want people to not do it when we say not to do it, but 500 is a little steep if you're firing off a bottle rocket in your backyard. But I would find somebody 500 in a park, so could I mean, I don't know, maybe the rest of them, if you're okay with the 500, I'll stay with the 500, I don't care.
I kind of think 500 is a little steep too.
I mean, I'd move that it's 250.
No, in general.
It's 250 in general and 500 on any public property,
City property, yeah.
any city property. There's a second to that? And you can put the word
I'll
in.
second that.
Looking as to, just real quickly, what we would have to change, so the public is aware of what we would be looking at for passage.
So I really hope that we get the message that we're serious about a $250 fine, and I really do hope that we enforce.
The sections that we would have to look at, just real quickly, so I can make sure everyone's on the same page. Violations are currently covered under 19.20.070, which provides of a minimum amount of not less than $500. We would call out in that section that it would be $250 for all penalties or violations within the new chapter. However, the section that indicates that they're expressly prohibited on public property, city parks, roadways, I'm quoting from memory here, I'm looking for it right now. That section, that covers 19.20.030 sub 2, possession or discharge from a public park on city-owned property and a public roadway, street, or alley. That would be $500 for that section, for both possession and use.
Sounds good.
Do we have a second on that?
Second, I'll second.
You're doing 500 just on possession as well?
The way that it's,
The city,
But in the park, yeah, but
They're not gonna do anything
I
to
don't
anybody if they just got them in their car, but if they start shooting them off.
well, no, you have possession of them in your car. I mean, if you're coming in to pick up the kids for swimming or whatever you're doing, I
You
mean,
have to have, remember,
Have
Mr.
to have
Moore, you have to have
intent.
probable cause. I'm practicing, you don't do
Kind of
criminal.
the intent behind banning the possession was the fact that what would happen in the past is if they responded to a call.
Not.
And they did
I
not
thought we were
physically see
talking
you
about
lighting
city
off the
parks
fireworks,
only.
but there's a pile of them in front of you. There was no recourse.
off
At
with
least
a
now they may not cite you for that offense, Rex, if I'm correct, but they can take those fireworks if you have a pile of them on the ground in front of you in a city park.
Well, that looks like
Now
intent
you
to
can
me,
do
if they got them
both.
sitting in front of her,
you
getting ready
can
to
do
shoot.
both. You can take the fireworks
Yeah,
and
oh, yeah,
fine
it would.
I just leave it that way. $500.
If they have enough evidence to charge on the discharging side, they could charge the $500 on that, but banning the possession, then they can at least take the fireworks. I don't think it would be a charge for both.
Sure it is.
I
That's
thought
what
you
she's
said-
got. Yeah, absolutely. And it should be. If they got fireworks out and laying on the ground in front of them, they're not just showing them to the neighbor kids. They're getting ready to light. Come on, let's be realistic here. Keep this stuff out of our parks.
but
It's a
your,
mess to clean up.
your recommendation or amendment was just on city property, right?
Right, for the 500.
For the
yes.
500, yes.
Right. Keep them off city property. There's no reason to have any fireworks on city property for any reason. If they have them there, their intent is to light them, no question about it. I'm thinking of parks like Grandma Moose is out there.
Right.
They'll be firing them babies off and
I agree.
then we'll get the cleanup on it.
So Mayor, for clarification, the increased amount for just city parks, because there's a longer list that we've included, parks.
No, I said city-owned property.
Okay.
Right.
Which would include,
A longer list.
Yeah, the longer list, yes, yes.
and for the possession is only in a public park, for clarification. It
That's
isn't,
fine.
clearly,
Okay.
we're not trying to.
Call the roll, please, on the amendment.
Capron.
Aye.
Justin.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Okay, now on first reading.
And just for clarification, again, I want to make sure the record is clear. So was your motion for the addition of the business park and then the change of the fine, $500 in public parks and the other properties we've listed, and changing the overall penalty section from 500 to 250?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Pretty much exactly as I had moved it.
I just need to make sure.
Call the roll on the amendment, unamended motion, or I guess we can vote electronically on that.
Motion and a second on the first reading.
I'll move it.
Second.
As amended.
And you use your
As amended.
voting panels, please.
Passes 5-0, and I don't think we have any option but to waive the rules.
I agree.
So I'll move that.
Second.
Greckin.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters. Capron.
Aye.
I'll move second and third.
Second.
Got it, Rhonda.
I jumped right in there, didn't I?
Lisa, the broken no button was only supposed to be for fire department votes.
I don't control the broken no button.
Thank you.
You don't have to worry, you always have three, chief.
Ouch.
Well, maybe four now. I lost my counterpart.
Alex, can you try again there, please? Thank you.
Passes 5-0. Fireworks are now legal in the community.
Not quite yet, because we have to publish the
Gotta
notice.
put-
on
I know.
Saturday.
Publication will be on Saturday.
I understand.
I know, but it'll be effective Sunday. Well, I just don't want the fires to start this week.
Well, they can't do anything this week anyway. Your dates don't allow it. Even the state doesn't allow it. So nothing can go into effect that doesn't comply with state law.
So when?
Sale starts
Is-
June 1.
June 1 is when the sales period will begin.
25th is when you can shoot them off here.
Is our ordinance still kind of
Well, and
waiting on administrative rules to?
No?
there are a
Nope.
couple different things here. We already had a fireworks ban on the books, which is something that was repealed as part of the ordinance that you just passed. So we currently have a use ordinance in place until the publication is done on Saturday. So that's still there. But sales can't even begin until June 1, and that's if the state completes their licensing process.
Yes.
We have received draft rules as of last week. I haven't received final administrative rules as of right now.
Do we have anybody that'll be set up by then?
Part of the structure of our permitting process is that they have to initiate the state licensing process and obtain that license prior to the city being able to grant a permit. So we're kind of waiting on the state. The state, hopefully they will be done in time for June 1. If they're not, we're in a holding pattern until they've completed their process before we can go forward with our process.
That was a question you were asking people.
Yes.
So sales cannot commence.
No.
Correct.
The state
Until
rules.
Still the state.
until the vendor obtains their state license and then applies for a city permit and is granted a city permit. They can't begin until those steps have been taken.
And as part of the city permitting process, a site plan with required items shown on that site plan will be required for administrative review and approval. So that site plan has to be submitted with the permit application to sell. And that review period, you know, not knowing how many we're going to get in the first week, that review period may take a couple days. So that needs to be done first.
Is that in addition to what the fire department's process is?
No, the fire department process dictates what needs to be shown on those site plans as far as setbacks from the street setbacks from the existing buildings, the tent structures, if they choose to sell out of a tent, obviously those tents have to be reviewed for the building code, for exits and entrances and aisle widths and such. So the review process could take a couple days on each one of those.
And for clarification as well, the June 1 date is for permanent structures, for tents and other.
Which cannot be done online, correct? There's one application that gets completed and filed where?
With the fire marshal, and then he'll be able to distribute that for review for the site plan.
They don't file anything separately with your office?
Not with our office.
All with the fire marshal?
It's all centrally located coming in through Sioux City Fire Rescue through the fire marshal, and then the fire marshal's office will coordinate with the various city departments for necessary approvals.
Physically, where do we file the applications?
With Sioux City Fire Rescue, and it will be routed to the fire marshal's office.
Over at their department?
Correct.
In their building?
Yes.
Just at the front office there?
I don't
What
know
was
if
that?
Mark Aslip left or not. I would anticipate.
Where is it? Where is the application actually filed? Physically, where is it? And if it's
Well, it
in the
would be at the fire department administration offices.
But you
and-
give it to the person that's at,
It's on the
I
first,
don't know where is that?
it's in the police fire headquarters building. They would go into the building and they'll need to check in with the records clerk, who will then call ahead to the fire department and gain them access, let them know that they're coming down to their offices.
No, they don't, you don't just get to walk down anymore, I don't think.
No, that's why they got to
Got
check with
escorted
records
down.
and then they open it up and,
Or you
or
can
maybe
mail
they'll
it.
come out and meet them, I bet.
Correct.
You can mail it in. Or you can mail it in?
The permit fee
I would
is due at
imagine
the
you could.
time, prior to the permit application being processed, there's a $500 submission fee that will need to be paid at that time to begin the process. So the application would have to include the fee in order for the fire marshal's office to begin.
So Jeff, I anticipate many questions and misunderstandings in your department, not by you or your department, but by the applicant. So will you get that application the same day, so if the site plan is not complete, if all the information is left out, you can get back to them that same day?
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't do that. We'll coordinate those site plan review efforts with the fire marshal directly, and try to turn them around as fast as we can. Again, they're administratively done, so once we get them and they're intact and they meet all the requirements that are listed in the code, it shouldn't take us that long to review them if they met all the requirements. It'll be the ones that are missing information or have errors on the site plan that we'll have to communicate back and forth until those are resolved.
Okay, thank you.
And additionally, there are other things that will have to be attached. So as Jeff had mentioned, site plan, building plan, proof of their insurance and the limits that are included. We've mirrored the same limits that are included under the state requirements. So all of that information will have to come in. And if the more information that we have to track down, the longer it's going to take to process the applications.
You know, this is my 41st wedding anniversary, so if we could move forward now,
That will be all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. 27, an ordinance amending the municipal code to increase the city manager's authority to approve purchases up to $50,000. The city-
41 years.
The city managers asked this to not be increased, and I would tend to agree, and it has no reflection whatsoever on Bob, but historically around here, it's been discovered that when the city manager has $25,000 worth of authority and the contract's in the $48,000 range, it's been just broken up into two 24s. So I think you have to be terribly careful with that.
We'll continue to do it that way.
I know you will. Until you get caught. Because the other person got caught. So
Do you want to delete that?
Well, and I would just speak to, at the effective fiscal and public policy meeting, the discussion was had, and the thing that, or some comments were being made that basically this amount hasn't been increased since what year, Donna?
2009.
2008.
2008. And so they were just looking at adjusting that. And to the manager's point earlier about the amount and things like that, it was just more thought that these are budgeted items. And obviously we talked about not wanting them to break it up and things like that, but that this is council approved budgeted items being approved.
And I appreciate both finances, direct to fiscal and public policy, but I'm comfortable with it staying at the $25,000 limit. 50,000 creates more, you'd still be notified by me anyways. I'm comfortable with it going, but anything over 25,000 still going to council. It'll ensure that bidding requirements are met. It'll help with local preference issues, as well as, I just think,
We want to delete item 27?
Okay. There is one other section, if I may. We would entertain maybe changing the word must on the local preference to may, which does give the council more flexibility. When something comes up, you can determine when something might be a large dollar item where the 2% might be a lot of money that you don't want to award one. Right now, the 2%, you must give it to them.
Yeah, well, I always thought it was may, so I don't know wherever the must came in. If that were the case, then the city staff would recommend 2%. So I think that's probably something we should adjust, because I don't think that was ever the intent, that it was a must award. Because if that were the case, every time you were within 2%, the staff would recommend 2%.
And that's, I think this would just make things a lot easier if we.
So is that in this 27?
Yes, it's right there. It's
Okay, so then I'll just, well, somebody move and.
I'll move it.
Take the 50 out, but change the wording to may.
Yes.
That would be very much
And-
appreciated.
Are you moving it?
I moved it,
Before you
yeah.
second it,
There are a
discussion?
couple of different sections that are included in
Yeah.
there. So if the motion just states the only piece that would be approved or entertained for the council would be changing that one word. The rest of the changes would not be accepted.
So we need an amendment, don't we, to the main item?
Yes.
That's what I'm basically doing.
Well,
So I'll amend it.
So Ron to move that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
when I looked at this, I thought there were three issues, the $50,000, and I've spoken to the city manager too, and I'm fine with the 25. The may, it has been an issue in the past, must versus may, and I think may is a better wording for this section of the code. But I also see the issue, and I'm not sure how we resolved that in our discussion earlier, non-local versus local bidder. And I don't know if that comes as a separate discussion at a later time, but
Listen,
if the.
Nicole just recommended we delete and they come back with a clean copy, so you can,
Okay.
we could address a better definition of local
yeah,
versus non-local.
maybe Bob can kind of get different opinions.
Yeah, and I'm fine. We just,
I'll move we delete.
Second.
I think there needs to be a uniform,
Scott?
consistent way
Aye.
of doing
Waters?
that.
Capron?
Aye.
Greckin?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
28 is a resolution authorizing agreement with J.C. Penney's for the Ravine Park Watershed Upland BMPS project. Now, are we paying them for the easement or anything? And if so, has that changed since our original deal?
We are not paying for the easement.
So now, what you had hoped for, you did finally get.
Yes.
There's no other changes here that we should know about.
This is, as far as I know, this is it, yes.
Well, you're the guy that should know. You've
I
been in
know.
charge. I'll move it.
Second. Good job.
Lesson to be learned, get easements before you bid jobs.
Amen.
We have a long history around here of not doing that. We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
41 years.
You can't even get that many of them together. 5-0. 29 is a resolution awarding a contract to Bainbridge Construction for the Ravine Park Watershed Upland BMPS project deferred from April 24th and May 8th, 2017. I'll move it.
Second.
It just shows you how much older I am.
I know. You got that additional income.
Yeah.
Alex, you gotta vote. Gotta vote. If you wanna.
I'm delaying Dan over here.
Pete. you know,
5-0.
Rhonda says vote to you.
Pardon me?
Rhonda says vote to you.
Gently remind me.
I got it here to my left.
30 is a hearing and ordinance and a resolution declaring that 1014 21st Street to be dangerous or dilapidated as defined by the municipal code owner Douglas Inlay. Move it.
Been done. This is property that's been, we've been called out there numerous times, and so has the police department has found with transient activity in it. Just completely dilapidated. We really have not even heard anything from the owner of the property. It's a small structure located there on 21st Street. At this time, with nothing moving forward, staff would ask for demolition on this property. If you'd like some photos, I do have some photos that are available as well.
They're being shown on the screen. Thank you.
Yes, these 3 items would have appeared in the April placard hearing if we'd have held one, but since there was only 3 items, we didn't want to take council's time to come in for 3 items, so.
You're doing a great job, Daryl. I
Hey,
really
thanks,
appreciate
Rhonda.
it. Thank you. Don't you think, Mayor?
Wonderful. On the roll, are we voting here?
Oh, you're using your voting panels, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
This goes back 2 years, doesn't it? This particular one?
Passes 5-0. 31 is a hearing and resolution declaring 1925 West Highland Avenue to be dangerous or dilapidated as defined by the municipal code. Property owners Omar Molina Maldonado. I'll move it.
Second.
This item, again, had been called out numerous times to the property for transient activity. There was some interest in making some repairs. At one point, we did make a visit out to the property on December 22nd to make a more formal list of items that would need to be repaired. Since that time, there's been no further action moved forward, and staff would ask for demolition.
I think this has been on a long time.
I'll move it.
Second.
It's already moved in second.
I thought so.
Already been moved. I just keep forgetting to start the electronic
It
vote.
had already
I'm
been
sorry.
moved in second.
You're kidding me.
No.
How can the mayor miss it?
Passes 5-0. 32 is a hearing and resolution declaring 3100 Everett Place to be a dangerous or dilapidated as defined by the municipal code. Property owners Adam and Jennifer Frigge.
This property, again, we were called out on some issues resulting in the property, found that there was a lot of work being done without a permit. Upon arrival, we found a very dilapidated structure with numerous deficiencies, code violations in work that was trying to be attempted to be done, some dilapidated structures on the property. We were called by a real estate agent as the folks were trying to possibly sell it for a more detailed list. We did provide that detailed list to them on January 24th of 2017, and since that time, we've had no further action. Staff would ask for demolition.
We have a motion? Move it.
When's our next hearing?
Next hearing would be in July. Right now, we're in the process of working with some of the homeowners to see if we can get some forward progress to make that list a little less.
Thank you.
Thank you.
33 is hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of, 5-0, I'm sorry. I'm 32. 33 is hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of Kinseth Hospitality and authorizing agreements for land in the combined Central Sioux City CBD Urban Renewal Area property, 800 block of 4th Street, deferred from April 17th and May 8th, 17. A motion is requested to defer till June 5th, 2017.
Mayor and council, this, as the mayor mentioned, this will be requested to be deferred till June 5th. However, at the request of council, there's a short presentation that economic development will provide to reiterate the terms of the agreement as well as the overall impact on the tax reinvestment district.
Well, let's get a motion first.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Go ahead and use your voting panels, please.
Well,
To defer,
no,
right?
no, well, yeah, but now we can go, but otherwise we forget. Go ahead.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, Renee and I will make this presentation, but Erica and Donna and Bob may have some comments too, or be able to answer some questions. We want to walk kind of through what the Iowa Reinvestment District is. I'll call it, as you know, it's a competitive program, once in a lifetime opportunity. The state funded it one time for 2 years and may not do that again. And the essence of it is it allows state hotel and motel tax and sales taxes from various different kinds of activities to be used locally within the district for up to 20 years. It's a little bit like, use this slide to illustrate, it's a little bit like TIF, if you're familiar with TIF. In a TIF district, increased property tax revenue is allowed to be used to fund and finance improvements that lead to that revenue being created. So in an IRD district, we're using essentially like a sales tax TIF, using the increased sales taxes to help fund development. One big difference is that because it's state funds, the state put a cap on it, so a total of $100 million for all the projects in the state, and then each individual community will have a cap. And that was competitive as opposed to TIF, which basically is used frequently and often around the state. So how can the city take advantage of the program? First thing it allows us to do is to leverage these state tax dollars, sales tax dollars, with grants and private investment, leading to the proposed $72 million capital investment overall. It allows us to build on the momentum of downtown as an entertainment and cultural center, revitalizing 4th Street, Virginia Street, and the Stockyards area. It's timed to coincide with the opportunity that the interstate project allows us, done in 2 more years, and at least in downtown, and sets the stage for future private development. So what is the Sioux City's IRD plan? As you know, it's a 25-acre district. The area was selected to have high visibility and to be a major gateway into Sioux City, especially with the interstate changes. We've requested $13.9 million in allocation from the IRD program, and it's basically built around 3 destination anchors: the Convention Center Hotel, Virginia Square project, and the Ag Expo Center. We were asked to sort of do a quick illustration, a timeline of how did we get here. In 2014, we began discussions of this. We did not participate in the first round of the IEDA program, but we did begin discussions with Ho-Chunk on Virginia Square, the Ag Center Group. The feasibility studies, initial feasibility studies were completed. And at that time, we asked about the Sioux City Hotel, now the Howard Johnson's. That was during the time that it was in foreclosure. In 2015, in the spring, we were able to get provisional approval from the IEDA. Again, as a reminder, it's a long period of time, but it is set up as a 2-year program, 1 year as a provisional approval and then coming back for a 2nd year for final approval. We did go through an RFP process to locate a hotel developer for the convention center and continued to work on the other projects. In 2016, Kinseth, who we had selected to work with, received their approvals from the Marriott Corporation and received their financing. So we went ahead and signed an MOU after consulting with the council. At that time also, the city, county, and MERD committed their support for the Ag Center, and we were able to receive several grants that we helped, staff helped write. So here we are in 2017, working on finalizing the various agreements for the convention center. Virginia Square agreements have been approved, and Ag Center is in continuing the design, fundraising, and identifying the best uses for the facility.
Can you back one second? I do have one question, Marty, just quick,
Sure.
while we're on it. The various grants received, is that specific to the Ag Center, or what is that specific to?
Primarily, yes. I do think Ho-Chunk received Brownfield grant as well.
Okay.
So how are the IRD funds created for the city? Essentially, they come from, if you have a eligible facility, it's one that is either built new or has been renovated with over 50% of the facilities, over 50% of the value of the facility in the district. That allows us to capture 5% state hotel motel tax on any hotel stays, and the 4% of the 5% state sales tax on any food, beverage, from restaurants, bars, any other type of retail sales, ticket sales, that type of thing. The state keeps 1% of the sales tax. So those kinds of tax generators then feed into the IRD fund, which is up to the city to allocate per the various different agreements. So then how are those funds used to benefit the city? Those funds go into these major projects along with TIF dollars and so on. So it's kind of leveraging all that. So this is kind of an example to show why do we need private investment in hotels, restaurants, and other retail to make the district go. So hypothetically then, somebody stays in let's say a couple stays in a hotel room, it's $119 a night. They go out to dinner, $50, might be conservative actually, dinner and drinks, whatever. So today, of course, without any district, any new facilities in the district, there wouldn't be any income. Under the regular kind of taxation, that would produce $8.33 in local taxes, the 7%. The 5% would go to the state. It would be 50 cents or so on the local sales tax, and then the 4% would go to the state. So in the district, again, this is just a hypothetical example, we would have those local funds, but we would also get $5.95 from the state hotel motel tax, and then additional $2 in sales tax. So you can see in that hypothetical example, the revenue to the state would be, or to the city, I'm sorry, into the district would be $16, about double what we would get otherwise. So that's kind of at the heart of, it's kind of an example of maybe why, a typical example of why that is worthwhile to do, how that will generate additional dollars to the city. So then why do we need the improved venues and unique community attractions? Well, first of all, that was required by the state program, and again, it was competitive. So showing them that we could create unique venues and tourist attractions and community attractions was one of the reasons why we were able to be selected over other communities. But obviously, the intent is to attract new visitors and economic activity to the district, increasing the demand for hotels, restaurants, retail, not only in the district, but in the whole city and the whole region. And then also, we think will provide additional amenities for the people who live here, for the residents of Sioux City.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so this 13.9 that we're getting, correct?
Yes.
Did it have to be 3 projects? Could it have been just 2?
I think it could have been, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be more than that. And we're actually, planning that we have additional projects as well, potentially another hotel. So it isn't any specific number. You had to fit in the 25-acre district.
However, you had to propose what you were going to spend the money on, and
Yes.
and the state approved based on what was proposed.
That's correct.
So the 3, that's what you're saying.
Right. So again, how are these different concepts connected? Essentially, the new events and activities will attract more visitors and more spending in Sioux City. That will bring more business to hotels, restaurants, and other retail in the district, which will accelerate the collection of local and state taxes. And then the IRD funds collected over the 20 years, although it could be shorter, we would hope that it would be shorter, up until we reach the 13.9 million cap, would then again
Stop right there. If you
turn
don't
around
reach it
and
after year
help.
20, though, you're out.
Pardon me?
If you don't, for some reason, you don't reach that 13.9 million in 20 years, you're not going to collect it.
That's true. That's true. So those funds,
Projects are premised on that 13.9.
yes, you're correct.
Are there projections? I mean, I'm sure you guys researched or looked at projections of what that would be to make sure that we would reach the 13.9 or in hopes.
Yes, right. It's, again, those revenues are part of the financing of those improvements then. So again, that's why they're connected, that's why they're important, is to the financing of all of the different projects. So then the question is then asked, of course, why do we need a new convention center hotel? And we've talked about this before, but basically the challenge is we faced fewer events and decreased revenue and essentially not being competitive in today's market with a lot of the newer facilities around the region. So the study that we had done by Hunt Strategic Partners, as you know, recommended a quality branded hotel with 150 rooms, improvements to the convention center to create some type of flexible ballroom space, and an overall improved user experience for the facility.
Had that group ever worked with the Kenseth group?
Prior to this,
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. I don't think so. Why was this hotel option chosen? In other words, why did we pick this option or recommend, I guess, this option in Kenseth? Kansas' experience and success with similar facilities, I think, is a strong point of this proposal. The Courtyard by Marriott offered the upper mid-scale brand. To me, an overwhelming fact is the fact they're willing to commit over $21 million in private investment to the facility. I haven't seen that too often in hotels in Sioux City. Obviously, doing in a lot of other markets, but not recently here, except for Hard Rock. And then the hospitality destination concept, the ability to enhance the marketing and management efficiencies of the convention center and the hotel together. A couple of other points, and I know that other questions have been asked about other locations and so on. One of the key points here is having the pre-function space between the hotel and the convention center allows access, good access in between the two facilities, again, enhancing the user experience and allowing for flexible use because that area could be used for different kinds of functions or pre-functions, different kind of parties and so on associated with different events. So you couldn't do that necessarily if you were in a different location, as easily anyway. So, and then the 5-story design is the one that they feel is the one that is the most optimal in terms of efficiency and cost. Different questions about that, and they've looked at different scenarios, but this is what they feel, their designer feels would work the best. So what are the benefits? Again, what are the financial benefits to the city from the convention center hotel? So this slide shows the projected source of funds, the property taxes that will be generated, and the reinvestment district funds, again, from the hotel itself, $14.4 million. Use of the funds there, the tax rebates, the debt on the parking, and the debt on the pre-function ballroom space, or improvements. So that's about 11.6. This was done by the finance department, but shows you that over the course of the agreement period that we would have a net profit to the city or a net positive number to the city. Those projections do not include additional financial benefits to the city from the project that we see. The local hotel motel taxes will be about $8 million over that 20-year period. Again, we didn't count that into the payback or the financing in an effort to be conservative. And, you know, those funds go to support other functions with the city. About $1.5 million over that 20-year period in additional parking revenue. And then the savings, we didn't put a number to this here today. You'll see more about that when the management agreement comes forward, but there'll be significant savings from the reduced convention center subsidy, which is something like $500,000 in the negative annually today. Of course, that's one of the main reasons for undertaking the project. And then economic impacts shown at $219 million in new spending, $69 million in new net earnings over 20 years.
One more thing to add to that is the sources of funds are all new revenues, so that is none of those are existing revenues. The property tax is off the value of the new building that doesn't currently exist, as well as the reinvestment funds are from sales and hotel tax that we don't currently collect. So it does not have any impact on the existing tax structure in our city.
And again, what are the benefits from the Ag Expo Center and Virginia Square developments? We see these as important civic amenities that will help attract new residents and visitors to the region, something that we talk about a lot in economic development these days, the need to attract more people. It will transform the aesthetics of the city and of the entryway to both our state and to the city, especially with all the work that's going on the interstate. The transformation of the Stockyards area in Virginia Street and so on. Fosters strong public-private partnerships and encourages the continued growth of downtown. New housing, part of this has some new housing elements to it, the historic district, entertainment and recreational opportunities. And we've had a lot of discussion in recent weeks, as you know, about the opportunity for more recreation. I know the council's committed to that, and again, we think that's a key element of growing our community. We think the Ag Center will be an opportunity to be a multi-use facility that will have recreation elements to it, and that's something we're looking forward to talking more about in the future. And Alex asked me earlier today about that, and we will have a lot more information on that, and the Ag Group is working very diligently, and we've been working very actively with them on the potential for additional. So the next steps, with the Convention Center Hotel, as you know, the development, management, and parking agreements, 3 different agreements we plan to bring to council on June 5th. Virginia Square, second building is nearing completion. They'll fairly soon begin the third and final building of their project. It says third and final, but there's actually a fourth piece of ground that they've acquired that is not in the district right now, but there's a potential maybe for putting lines. Ag Expo Center, they're again finalizing the uses, updating the pro forma, working on the optimal building design with the architect, be starting a phase 2 of fundraising. We're planning that, and we need to have a joint agreement between all the various parties. There's been a lot of discussion about that. And then, of course, the final approval from the state is needed. Actual collection of taxes, of those state taxes, begins upon the completion of the largest project, which is the Convention Center Hotel. So that would begin when that project cuts the ribbon. So how will the Sioux City IRD plan benefit the community? We think in multiple ways. We'll increase the market base and performance of the Convention Center. We'll grow and reinvest tax dollars, especially state tax dollars, back into the community. We've got 3 dynamic anchor projects that will create a positive economic impact, as you can see, both in terms of investment, jobs, and annual economic impact. And we think this is a transformational long-term effort for regional growth. Glad to answer any other questions.
Do you have a deadline from the Iowa Economic Development Board when you need to have all of this settled?
Again, we had kind of that midsummer kind of informal deadline that we'd really tried to make.
They haven't said.
Beyond that, no.
Will they say it?
I think Mason City just made some progress, though. On, I don't think they've been back to the state yet, but they finalized their plan with a hotel. So
Message we've received is we just need to show that we're making progress towards this whole district.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the presentation. Can I get a copy of this?
Sure,
PowerPoint?
absolutely.
One thing I want to add is a lot of people have asked why the existing hotel isn't just remodeled and used. Prior to starting in this direction with an RFP and resulting Kinset selection, we had numerous possible hotel operators approach the city and look at what was, I think at the time, the Sioux City Hotel for remodeling. And I believe every single one of them walked away with the impression that the amount of money, capital investment that would need to go into that facility could not be paid back with the current rate structure in place. And then in all likelihood, it would be cheaper to build on another site than to try to remodel the existing hotel into a standard that was expected.
So some people have forgotten that we actually brought a LOU to the council with a Florida group that had looked at buying the hotel and a pretty extensive remodeling, and then they ended up walking away from it.
One question I had, and I know I shot this to you earlier, but I just wanted a clarification about the pre-convention space, the ballroom, things like that. Is that where the IRD funds will be used to put forth that, or is that something that the city is putting forward? Is that taxpayer dollars, or is that the reinvestment district money? I was wondering.
That's kind of illustrated in that one slide that had the various different sources and uses of funds, but I think I might let Donna answer that one.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Currently, we are using TIF abated debt for it. That way we collect the property taxes on the hotel to help pay for some of that. But then that frees up reinvestment money that I can use other places.
Okay. So,
But just a minute, let's be honest with the taxpayers. In your budget deal today, this is why I get a little bit upset when people are saying we're not using any tax money. We are using tax money.
Tax
We
increment.
absolutely are, and we need to be honest about that.
for TIF financing?
Absolutely we are, and that's the thing that's bothered me through this whole process, is that we say this isn't costing the taxpayers any money. You have no, listen, I'm not gonna beat the project up. It's gonna pass, but we need to be honest in our approach here, and we need to be very transparent. And it bothers me a lot that we wink and say, well, it's not really, yes, it is. Because you don't know that you're gonna collect that 13.9 million, and if you don't, that's an issue, number one. And number two, anytime you use tax abated in a tax district that's a negative already.
That's correct.
That's tax dollars. You have to take them from my house and your house and from my businesses to pay that until that debt's paid back. And so that's not being honest when we say that. And that's the one thing that's really, because the other day you told me that no tax dollars are going, that's not true, because they are going to this. We have a negative in the downtown. We're going to make that negative even worse about this.
Mayor, I disagree that we're making it worse. We'll have a development agreement in place with the minimum assessment, and those are the only dollars we're showing. If the building weren't built, we wouldn't get those tax revenue.
And you have no guarantee that the property value of the promenade is going to go down even more, and the hotel value is going to go down, and you're going to have a demolition cost. So there are a lot of variables. We can say, if everything works out, you're right.
I would put a caveat on that. Right now, the deficit for the CBD is being covered by Donner.
Thank you. And those dollars could otherwise be released to buy cops and firemen.
That is correct.
Okay. That's all I'm trying to say, Bob. Let's be very transparent. The public is having a hard time with this project. And I'm not saying that you guys are making a bad decision. It's not a vote for me, okay? And I'm not trying to beat you guys up because of that. I'm just saying we need to be very transparent in this process. That's my whole point.
No, and I agree. That's why I asked the question. I wanted the clarification. I wanted to talk about the different financing and what that was being used for. So I appreciate that clarification.
I'm not disagreeing with what the mayor's saying. We're trying to be as transparent as we can. I do think the advantage here that we have started off talking about today is the fact we have another tool here to use, which is this reinvestment district. I think it helps the process. It's not without risk. I'm not saying that.
No,
but I think it gives us
I'm not saying it's a high-risk project because of it. I'm just saying there are always risks. You know, you go back to Stony Creek and everybody had concerns about that. Has that been a good or bad project for the city? I think overall, probably a pretty good project. I probably wouldn't have voted for it either, to tell you the truth. You know, you look at the promenade, now, I don't know how anybody could have voted for that, Marty, I'm sorry. But it's a horrible project with a horrible developer. But you know what? You made an investment thinking it was the right thing to do. So my whole point is, you don't know when you make a vote that's questionable, whether it's a good one or a bad one, until at least 10 years down the road. That's reality around here. I would like a layout, because as I look at that building on that deal you just showed, every time I look at that, I wonder how in the world are we going to get a truck to that? I don't think the back door exists anymore. That big back door does not exist anymore. And so you're going to try to do everything off a truck dock.
The overhead door, you mean?
Yes.
The convention center, yes.
It's gone.
No, it's not. You mean under this plan?
Well, then it's drawn way out of proportion in your picture, because it extends back of the building if you look at that picture that you were showing.
I didn't put this in today's presentation because I don't know how much to put in there. We've talked about it before, but I can bring you back a more detailed drawing of that. But I guarantee you they are preserving the access to the overhead door and the loading docks as well, which are just north of that. But that is absolutely fundamentally critical.
Well, if you look at your picture, then it's way out of scale. Because I'm telling you, you look at that picture.
That could be. I need to get, I guess, a better drawing from the architect on that. But I think everyone recognizes and agrees that that access is critical to the functioning of the building.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Darren Davey, 700 4th Street. Just in case I couldn't get back here on the 5th, I just wanted to take a second just to speak in favor of the project. Any project like this kind of being built inside current structure is going to have a lot of hair on it, and there just is no perfect project, but I think this is a strong project. It takes advantage of tools that we can use positively to move things forward in Sioux City. It has obviously attracted someone willing to invest a significant amount of money in our downtown, and then the equestrian center on top of that. I just think it's a lot of positives piling on top of each other. Yes, there is TIF money is tax dollars, and in this particular setting, it's drawing off dollars, but there are times that tax dollars need to be used towards investment, and when we can use other funds through the state, and when we can definitely then multiply that with the funds coming from the private investment in the hotel and the center, I think it's a very positive project. So I would encourage improvement in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else be heard?
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Downtown Partner.
Mr. Bowden?
Oh, yeah.
Vote for the deferral on that last item, please.
What are we voting for here?
To defer it for another 2 weeks.
Fifth.
And you already, Passes 5-0. 34s. Before we do that, I know there's some citizens that have been patient. Let's let them go. I'm sorry, but they've been waiting patiently, and we're gonna have Cody Bolus, if you wanna come forward, and then we'll go back.
Hi, my name is Cody Bowles, and I want to thank you for taking the time to hear me. My husband and I, John, bought a house on one of your guys' projects in the Moose Meadows, where the old Lowell School used to be. 8 months after we moved into our house started sinking, and our house has continued to sink. My homeowner's insurance will not cover it because it's construction defect. My house is not safe. I've gone to you, Mayor Scott, and asked for you to please help me and direct me where I can get some assistance in this, and I never heard back from you. I've gone to the inspector's office. I was informed that if there was not a...
Wait a minute, so just a minute, I know somebody from our staff contacted you.
No, sir, they did not.
Okay, yes, but, okay, go ahead.
They did not.
Okay.
If they did, I wouldn't be here, sir.
Okay.
I went to the inspector's office. I can't get anybody from the inspector's office to come to my house. I was informed that if the permit was not flagged on building, that there's no reason for them to come inspect this. My sidewalks are sinking. My foundation is cracked. And this was a HUD project, and we qualified for this. My husband is a disabled veteran that served his country for 25 years. This is not a toaster I can take back to Walmart. This is not a car I can take to the shop. This was our home. We're not even residing in the home because it's not safe. Something needs to be done about this, and somebody needs to be held accountable about this. My house is not the only one that is sinking over there. There's 8 other houses on top of this, so there's 9 total. But mine is the worst. This was your guys' project, and somebody needs to be held accountable. You have my information. I don't want this to turn into lawyers and suing the city. I want my house fixed. I want my house livable. That's all I asked. I've got estimates. I've had contractors. I've had engineers. I've had my house lasered. I need the city to do the right thing for me. We deserve that.
So who do we put her in contact with, Mr. Padmore?
I'll have Daryl Bullock reach out to her.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other citizen concerns? Okay, go ahead, Downtown Partners.
Yeah, got some good follows here. Reagan Cody, Executive Director of Downtown Partners. I'm joined with Chris Jackson, a member of our board. If you could put that on the screen, please. Thank you. I'm going to remind you, our current board president is Ryan Avery, and I will get through this as quickly as I can in essence of time. I hope we never take too much of your time, so we will move quickly. Also in front of you, you have a packet of some items that you can look over in your time, and so we won't spend a whole lot of time on them today, but I'll breeze through them since you have them.
Reagan, before you get going on it,
yeah,
will you give Ryan our regards?
Absolutely. I was just going to let you know I do have an update on Ryan. He's doing very well. I just got a picture of him and Ben, and he looks great. His mental state is Ryan Avery. I don't know how better to describe that, but he's doing very well, and he's in a rehab facility here in Omaha. If some of you don't know, he had a stroke in March, mid-March, and so he's been in Lincoln after that at a soccer tournament, and just got moved to Omaha at the end of last month. So he is in a rehab facility, and he is doing very well.
Great. Tell him we're thinking
Thank you
of
for
him.
asking. I'll let him know. This is the time of year losing Ben Kneffler. As of July 1, he has served 2 3-year terms, which is the extent of the board position. And Todd Moyer, Shannon Patton, and Dennis Johnson will be rejoining us, hopefully, for another second-year term. And then we have asked Julie with Soho. Some of you know her down at Soho
good.
Kitchen and Bar. We've asked her to join the board on this ballot as well, so that we have a prominent business owner in downtown giving her input. So
Should be a good addition.
she will. I think so, too. She's been very involved and trying to be more involved. So
Sure,
with
and
that,
add
Chris,
Alex.
like I said,
Be sure and add Alex to the board as well.
yeah.
Yeah, don't make the list, right?
I did Dan Moore. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Well, I ended up taking Keith off. And the best board member we could have asked for, Alex Waters.
Thank you.
I wanted to give you that personal shout out instead of just writing it.
Best possible other than myself, of course.
Right.
If we go to the next slide,
Yep.
We'll just kind of jump right into it to take as little of your guys' time as we possibly can. If you look there at the first spire, it's dealing with our first group, which is called our community group. Those funds are basically used for marketing materials, website, emails, ads, all for the downtown and to help benefit all the economic growth in our downtown. The second spire there is for our economy work group. A lot of that has to do with our customer or our gathering software, our information and data gathering software, and then different business attraction opportunities. The last spire there is our projects and maintenance, which are mostly planters, tree gates, plants, downtown holiday bows, and a lot of that stuff. To date, we've spent 74% of our budget. Our year end is on June 30th, so we are planning to spend the full balance. Anything else will go towards any additional or new existing projects that we might be able to help out with. So. On the next slide, this is a great shot of a lot of the events coming this summer. If you look at that, it's actually doubled since last year. We have a lot of returning events for our second year. If you look up there, Over the Edge is doing their second year this year on June 14th. We also have Food Truck Fridays coming back again, which has been an absolutely amazing event for the downtown area, bringing over 1,000 different community members every Friday for a couple of food trucks. We're full off with 14 on June 2nd. So
Make sure you're there.
yeah, absolutely. We also have a lot of different things to do. Downtown Live has switched to or has been switched this year, and it'll be on Thursdays, actually, rather than the Fridays on the promenade, just to help with some of the construction stuff and a lot of that going on down there. Downtown Live starts June 1st and Food Truck Friday on June 2nd, so a lot of stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks.
And you should have a list of events in your packet. I just want to note this does not include anything at the Hard Rock, the Tyson Center, or the Orpheum. So if we started adding all of those, this list gets pretty big. With the Roger Brooks, I have an update on our ongoing checklist. I think this is important because I hear it every now and again asking what we've done since you've been here and what our role is in that, what the city's role is, and what the public's role is. So this is just, I wanted to share with you kind of our checklist of things that we've been working on. The first of which is update wayfinding. I've been working with Erin Benzina, I believe, in the department. I always pronounce her last name wrong. I apologize. I'm working on a design concept, whether or not we go one-way to two-way and what we do with those streets. We know where the interstate's going to be. This is something that we can start designing and start getting moving on. So she's working with us on an RFP to get that rolling and to see what our costs are. We're willing to help cost share and things like that. So this is something we want to keep moving. Simplifying parking. The other sheet you have in front of you is this guy. We just did a quick infograph, front and back, so you can see that. And basic downtown, whether you're walking, biking, Uber and Lyft are available now, skywalks, trolleys, transit, what the costs are in the ramps and what they are on the street so that you can see those different things. And sometimes people respond to an infographic a little bit quicker. It's a little bit simpler to understand and it brings everything together. So hopefully we're able to do that. And then Ann will help us post something like this. This is the first draft. So you do have time, and we'll share that on the city site as well and with others so that we can get that out publicly for conferences and other things like that. The other piece I have here, broken tree grates and light bulbs was something on his list. When he came, it was kind of unfortunate timing, but all the historic poles in downtown now have LED lights. If you'll notice, it's much brighter, much more efficient, so those have all been upgraded. Broken tree grates, we are replacing all of the broken ones with the porous pavement. We have funded the materials for over 74 trees in downtown, starting on Historic 4th, going down Virginia, and hopefully some of the promenade area, so that the tree grates get removed and that porous pavement that we've been testing on 4th Street, like out in front of the grind, stops weeds from popping up and helps the water and moisture keep the tree a little bit healthier. So that's coming as well. Blade signs, we've been encouraging all new business, existing business to try and help with blade signs. People will walk 20 feet in front where they feel comfortable, and you don't want them tipping out trying to see what business they're passing. You want to make it easy and enjoyable. Evening hours, that mall mentality. The other sheet you have is Storefront 101. And speaking with a lot of our businesses, some of them just have generally better storefronts than others. Some work on it a little bit differently than others do. Talking to the ones that could increase it, they just don't have the know-how, the creativity sometimes. What can I do? What are my options? So what we've done is kind of reminded them that with some statistics, it's not just online, but after 6 p.m., 70% of more shopping and more business takes place. And some of these retail establishments can really benefit from that. We're moving some events to Thursday. We're trying to get the foot traffic to then encourage and complement those hours that we're asking them to kind of work with. Also, the blade signs, visitors spend more money where it's greener. Put some plants out there. Do some things that could just enhance your space. And we have some businesses like Studio 427, Mod House Interiors, those that do design are able to be kind of mentors for other businesses that might need some help and have asked for help. So that whole process is in this Storefront 101 that we'll be sending out to businesses tomorrow. Outside decor and cafes, same type of thing. There will be another graphic for what the rules are. If you'll notice on the bottom of that Storefront 101, it does reference city code so that they are aware of where they need to check and make sure that they're following the rules. What's coming billboards? We've done a lot of that lately with the riverfront and Cone Park. Basically just billboards that are put up in construction areas saying projects are moving forward, things are getting enhanced, this is gonna be awesome, pardon the progress, and shows what it's going to look like. We think that's important. Program green spaces, a lot of things are being moved this year because we're getting more green spaces. But in order for those to be successful, they're going to need to be clean and they're gonna need to be programmed. You're gonna need to find a way to make sure that people interact with them in certain ways. The 10 plus 10 plus 10 is, we are working with the chamber on this a little bit more too, but in a 10 block radius, there should be 10 places that are 10 different things. So there should be restaurants. All of these 10 things should be in that 10 block radius. And so really working on that and mapping out. That way it helps us approach other businesses to come downtown, saying this is why we need you there. And I think that's really important as well. First impressions, just touching on that, the litter dash. That was the litter issue. We will need to work harder on that. I think once a year is not enough. I think we need to do more. We'll be working on litter dash. Makes you kind of think of a 5K or a run. Maybe that dash needs to be a little bit more every Friday for 5 minutes. If everybody did 5 minutes a day or a week, that would make a huge impact on our city. So looking at things like that we can do a little bit quicker and start the ball rolling. Sorry I spent so much time on that, but there's just a lot, and that's probably not even half of what I got through. So here are the infographics. Like I said, I'll breeze through because you have them in your packet. Yeah. This is the gentleman standing next to me. I didn't plan this, I swear.
You?
I wasn't supposed to be here.
GQ,
we
pick the photo. This is an awesome program we've been working on. We started it in February. It's called Love Your Downtown. And we've had a lot of different things that spun off of this, but right now we're working with KWIT, and they have offered their services at no charge to help with some of these things and talking with residents and visitors. And I'm gonna share with you because this has not soundbite. If it'll open up for us, I hope so. Cue the sound.
I haven't listened to this either, so.
Yeah, it's his first time.
I hope it's
I was gonna
good.
say, if not, could he just like redo it, right?
I really like the idea of getting people back downtown. My name is Chris Jackson. I am a commercial lender with Security National Bank downtown at our 601 Pierce Street address. Staples like McCarthy and Bailey's, M's on 4th Street, Rebo's, Soho, Launchpad, Children's Museum. And then the park that's going right across the street from it is just wonderful to get people out of the buildings and kind of congregating together. there's a lot of opportunity downtown for people to really come in and get in on the ground floor again. You know, it's just continuing to grow, and I really love that. Really, the downtown is the heart of a community, and it's the heart of a city, because without a vibrant downtown, everything just kind of floats away.
Congratulations, Chris.
Hey, thanks. That wasn't too bad. You know, I was offered to do an interview, and I jumped at the opportunity, because not only, you know, working downtown, I live on the north side, so that's really the closest opportunity for me
Good job.
to go do anything. And I don't want to have to travel all the way across town. And not that it's not nice, but I mean, the opportunity to just go somewhere that really is the heart of the city. And you can tell when a city has a strong downtown, it really just makes it feel more like home. So I'm very proud to be on the campaign. So I hope that if anybody ever gets reached out to, please make sure to share it or pass it along. Another thing that Reagan had talked about was the what's coming billboards. You know, not only are there tons of things happening on a regular basis downtown, but Downtown Partners puts together a fantastic email blast that lets you know exactly what's happening every single week in downtown. And it's a great way to easily get a lot of information about shows, different events, and opportunities to get out and get along and be a part of the community. So I advise everybody. It's right on the
You can go out on
Downtown
our
Partners
Facebook
website.
page. It's right on the top of our Facebook page, and then online, you can just go to the website, contact us, and it goes right to have you sign up.
And then also any downtown business or event can actually post on there at no cost.
Okay, well, that was the fun stuff. I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bob, it's your anniversary. I get it. SMID renewal
No,
2018.
I was just thinking, nothing.
You
Go
seem
ahead.
lost in thought.
Well, he's thinking about tonight, that's why.
No.
There you go. That was the heart, the Love Your Downtown
It's
campaign.
your wedding anniversary, Bob.
Let's just keep rolling.
Oops, sorry, we lost. That's okay. The last slide is, yeah, I just have, this is the last one. It's not as exciting as some of the others, but it is very necessary. This is our SMID renewal for 2018. It's coming up this summer. We'll be campaigning. I've been working with city staff on making sure that the maps and the agreements and all of that has taken place so that we can go out and start going out to our property owners. And we'll be up in front of you, I'm sure, by the end of the year, and look forward to that. So thank you for all you do and all the support that you give
You know what?
downtown.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
businesses.
Yeah, thank you.
You're doing a great job.
Excellent
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
Any other citizen concerns? Council concerns?
No, happy anniversary.
Thanks.
That's all.
Happy anniversary. And congratulations on your win Saturday night. The Bandits won, and now we're going to, what's the story now? When's the playoffs?
Well, we got 2 away games. We're in the playoffs for at least 1 home game, then we could be for 3, depending on how it goes. But we're not worried about football tonight. We're worried about hockey tomorrow night. They were about
Well, that's true.
4,700 tickets this morning when I went down there, so they're selling them only up in the balcony, so get down and get a ticket. Not every time you get to see a championship team play.
I got my tickets. I'm going. On it. So go Muskies. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's all I had too. I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow night.
Same here.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Waters, Capron.
Aye.
Gosh, wow, I'm getting excited.